Happy Halloween, my pretties! I am so excited because Halloween is my absolute favorite holiday. I love the entire vibe of Halloween. So naturally, I had to do a Halloween super cool homeschool not so spooky special. Halloween may seem like it's all about costumes and candy, but the holiday, which is relatively new to America, having only become popular in the early 1900s, has its roots in pagan beliefs. So where does the name itself come from? It's actually two words smushed together. Hallow, or holy person, refers to the saints celebrated on All Saints' Day, which is November 1st. The "een" part of the word is a derivative of eve, or evening before. So basically, Halloween is just an old-fashioned way of saying the night before All Saints' Day, also called Hallowmas or All Hallows' Day. Every time I see a black cat cross my path, I consider it good luck. I love black kitties, but black cats are often used as symbols of bad luck. Either way, black cats are a Halloween staple. The black cat's bad rep dates back to the Middle Ages, when these dark kitties were considered a symbol of the devil. Yeah. It didn't help the feline's reputation when many centuries later, accused witches were often found to have cats, especially black ones, as their companions. People started believing that cats were a witch's familiar, aka demonic animal, that gave them an assist with their dark magic, and the two have been linked ever since. Another medieval myth said that Satan turned himself into a cat when socializing with witches. I know a lot of people that socialize with witches, but they haven't turned themselves into cats. But anyway, nowadays, black cats aren't synonymous with bad luck and mischief everywhere. In Ireland, Scotland, and England, for example, it's considered good luck for a black cat to cross your path. Guess I need to move across the pond. So why ghosts? Well, Celtic people believe that during their festival of Samhain, which by the way looks like it should be pronounced Samhain, but it's not, marked the transition to the new year. It was the end of the harvest and the beginning of the winter, and spirits supposedly walked the earth during this time because the view between our world and the spirit world was the thinnest. By the way, later the introduction of All Souls' Day on November 2nd by Christian missionaries perpetuated this idea of mingling between the living and the dead. Anyway, the Celtic superstition was that the visiting ghosts could disguise themselves in human form, such as a beggar or something like that, and knock on your door and ask for money or food. If you turned them away empty-handed, you risked receiving the wrath of the spirit and being cursed or haunted forever. Another Celtic myth was that dressing up as a ghoul would fool the evil spirits into thinking that you were one of them, so they would not try to take your soul. Those Celtics sure had a lot of myths. Oh, and you might be wondering, what do ghosts and a peacock have in common? The answer is absolutely nothing. The candy most synonymous with Halloween is candy corn, and it was invented in the late 1880s and began to be mass-produced in the early 1900s. The original process for making candy corn was super time-consuming, as each color of syrup had to be heated up in large vats and carefully poured by hand into specially shaped molds. But the yellow, orange, and white candy, meant to resemble a corn kernel, was a huge hit and remains a popular part of Halloween today. At first, candy corn was called chicken feed and sold in boxes that read, "Something worth crowing for." It was originally just generically fall candy, but because of corn's association with harvest time, candy corn became Halloween specific when trick-or-treating rose to prominence in the 1950s. I personally love this time of year, being a type 1 diabetic. Anytime my sugar drops, I indulge in this sweet treat, and sometimes even when it doesn't. Like right now, I'm going to have some. Don't tell. Before I was a good unicorn, now I'm a bad unicorn. So I want to talk about Halloween colors, right? Orange and black. Those traditional colors actually stem from the pagan celebration of autumn and the harvest, with orange symbolizing the colors of crops and turning leaves, and black marking the death of the summer and changing seasons. Over time, we added in green, purple, and yellow into the color scheme of Halloween decorations because, you know, everyone needs more decorations, right? I know I do. Halloween is not just a day to me, it is an entire season. Not for nothing, but I don't look very good in red lipstick. I'm just not a red lipstick kind of girl, but I am a devil. Modern day carved out pumpkin creations certainly make for impressive decorations on Halloween, but they really came about from an old, ominous legend. And I'm going to give you this advice. If you ever meet the devil on a darkened road, don't try to trick him, or her, into climbing a tree. Otherwise, you might end up like Irish folk figure Jack OLantern. One night, a drunk guy named Jack trapped the devil in a tree by hacking a sign of the cross into the bark. In exchange for letting Satan climb down, Jack had him vow to never claim his soul. Jack proceeded to act pretty jerky his entire life because he knew he wasn't going to hell. But when he died, he sure as heck didn't get into heaven. So he had nowhere to go. He had to return to his buddy the devil. But Satan upheld his end of the deal and wouldn't let him in. hurling a piece of coal from hell at the dead man for good measure. Left without anywhere to go, Jack placed the blazing coal in a turnip to use as a lantern. The dead man then set out, doomed to wander around until he could find an eternal resting place. So, the Celts then believed that placing these turnips outside their house and then carving frightening faces in them would then help scare away evil spirits and guide the lost souls home when they wandered the streets on Halloween. And when the Irish potato famine of 1846 forced Irish families to flee to North America, the tradition came with them. And since turnips were hard to come by in the States at the time, pumpkins were used as a substitute. Who knew? We all recognize her. She has a pointy hat, a wart on her hooked nose. Well, I don't, but that's besides the point. And she's often seen riding her broomstick past a full moon. Perhaps the most quintessential Halloween symbol of all is the witch. In the Middle Ages, witchcraft was associated with devil worship and black magic, and it was widely feared throughout Europe. During the witch hunts that took place later in Europe and America, mass hysteria spread as thousands of women were accused of witchcraft and sorcery and killed. The witch's broomstick is another superstition that has its roots in medieval myths. The elderly, introverted women that were accused of witchcraft were often poor and couldn't afford houses, so they navigated through the woods on foot with the help of walking sticks, which were sometimes substituted by brooms. English folklore tells us that during nighttime ceremonies, witches rubbed a flying potion all over their bodies, closed their eyes, and felt as though they were flying. This hallucinogenic ointment, which caused numbness, rapid heartbeat, and confusion, gave them the illusion that they were soaring through the sky. Public service announcement: don't do drugs. I absolutely hate spiders, so why do I have one crawling on me right now? I have no idea. The things that I do for my videos, I guess. Anyway, the spider is a powerful and ancient mythical symbol. Because they can spin webs, they are associated with magic and the supernatural in many folk stories. They can also be linked to danger, fear, and deception. Think of the phrase, spin a web of deceit. Cobwebs are a natural accompaniment to Halloween too. Their presence instantly evokes a creepy feeling that something has been dead or abandoned for a long time. Everyone can agree that free candy is awesome. Beyond that, there's a lot of debate around the origins of trick-or-treating. One theory proposes that during Samhain, which was that Gaelic festival marking the end of the harvest season and the beginning of winter or the darker half of the year, Celtic people would leave out food to make the souls and ghosts traveling the earth that night happy. Eventually, people began dressing up like these otherworldly beings in exchange for similar offerings of food and drink. Other researchers speculate that this candy bonanza stems from the Scottish practice of guising, which is called dressing in disguise. In the Middle Ages, guisers, children, and poor adults would go to local homes and collect food or money in return for prayers said for the dead on All Souls Day. But the guisers eventually ditched the prayers in favor of less religious performances like jokes, songs, or other tricks. Some sources argue that our modern trick-or-treating stems from bell snickling, a tradition in German-American communities where children would dress in costume and then call on their neighbors to see if the adults could guess the identities of the disguised kids. In one version of the practice, the children were rewarded with food or other treats if no one could identify them. Hey, I think I hear someone at my door right now. Who can it be? It's Bob Ross! Hey Bob, are you trick-or-treating?
No, just treating and happy little tree.
So good to have Bob Ross with us on our Halloween special. What do you say, right? Yeah. Thanks for stopping by, Bob. You might have noticed Sugar Skull's becoming a really popular Halloween costume right now, but you might not know why. Well, right after Halloween, beginning on November 1st, is the Dia de los Muertos, also known as the Day of the Dead. It is a festive Mexican holiday for families to pay tribute to Los Muertos. Unlike Halloween the day before, the Day of the Dead is not meant to be scary, but instead it is a time of remembrance for loved ones who have passed on. During this time, people journey to their family burial grounds and decorate their loved ones' graves or ofrendas, altars, in a festive, fun, colorful, and decorative way with these sugar skulls, flowers, candles, photographs, and maybe even the deceased's favorite food in order to encourage and guide them back to the earth. I totally love these sugar skull masks and stickers and headgear. They completely look like a Snapchat filter, but it's not. Real life right here. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me on my Halloween special. I had so much fun making this video. Hope you had fun watching it. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I will see you real soon. Bye.